Thanks for staying with us. So as we move to the next segment, joining us on the show now is the founder of Nord Automobile Limited, one of the first Nigerian automobile brands and Africa's premier automobile corporation. He started his career at Mercedes-Benz Nigeria, growing very fast to become the head of division of vans, and later co-founded Jet Van, an authorized dealer of Mercedes. Welcome with us, Mr. Ajayi Joshua Oluwatobi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You've been a car guy for a while.
Yes,
Good,
yes.
good. So tell us a bit about your journey. You started with Mercedes, right? And obviously you now grew your career in that. But what got you so connected to the automobile industry?
Okay, so I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to create value. I wanted to add value. So, and I initially wanted to be a farmer because, yeah, I saw a lot of my uncles growing up, you know, struggling to get a job, spending 3 years, 4 years after university, after NYS. And I said, you know, this won't be my portion. I was going to do something that will create jobs and also not put me in the labor market for too long. So I felt that, so I looked at one problem Nigeria had at that time, which we still have till today, which is food production. I've always known that our inflation, one way or the other, was tied to the inability of food in the market, you know. So I said, okay, I was going to go to farming. We have farm in Abeokuta, so easy barrier of entry. But NYSA happened, and I served at Mercedes-Benz Nigeria in Lagos, and I liked the culture. It was really good. You know, it was just very different from the kind of experience that I had schooling in Nigeria, in Nigerian University. You know, so I said, no, I like how I'm being treated here, and that's how I left the farming. So Mercedes-Benz was good. I was retained immediately.
Oh, wow. And
within a couple of months, I was promoted to become the head of the division, the van division, which is something you should have spent a couple of years, you know, in the company before doing that. So my career was very, very fast. And from being the head of division, I was 24 at that time. Wow. I was the youngest in Africa and Middle East at that time.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, I started Jet Van, like you mentioned. From Jet Van, I saw the need to start our own vehicles. I just felt that why are we always buying foreign-made vehicles? Why are we always buying vehicles from Japan, from Germany? I've been to most of the factories of Mercedes-Benz in Germany, and I felt that it was possible for us to actually make our own things, and that was one of the reasons. I have a couple of reasons why I started Nord. Oh. One of the reasons is to show the world Africans can make our own things, our own machines, our own cars.
I love Nigerians.
Yeah, Africans can make our own things.
I'm listening to you. I would like to go into, you know, what exactly that you do. But before then, there was something you said which I thought is important with highlight. You talked about how it was quite fast for you to move on, you know, move up the ladder. Yeah. And what would you say were the qualities or characteristics that you have that played a part in you being recognized that way?
Okay, first of all, I wanted to be very successful. I wanted to be successful. And I knew that I had to repeat the fate people had in me because I was given responsibility at a very young age. So I felt that I had to show these people, the management of Mercedes-Benz Nigeria at that time, that you have given this young guy this responsibility and I will not fail you. So I was working long hours. My nickname then, you can still go there, was Onishe. Like, I was always working even when you asked me not to work. Okay. And at that time, like I said, I just enjoyed it. But what happened was that I'm knowing that now, but then I was just working. What happened, I was training myself into a machine. I was becoming really good at every aspect of the business. Okay. From the finance to the operations to the sales. I was just getting good in everything.
So you made yourself indispensable.
Yes, exactly. So, and that was why I was promoted quickly, and that was why I grew very fast.
Yeah, I also heard that, you know, from what you said earlier, that you found a problem. You noticed or recognized, identified a problem, and you decided to get a solution for it. Yeah. There are a lot of people who, you know, work in places where they know there's a problem, but it's none of our business. I'm not the first person. I'm not the one who's going to do this. Now, for people who are looking around them and they want to do more, but it seems like where they are working, there's no opportunity for that. What advice would you give to such people?
So I think that one of the advice I will give people, young, because I'm still young, I'm just 35, is when you are given a role, when you're given something to do, even if it's not the most impressive role, even if it's not, some people like the shiny roles. They want the role in the front of the camera, they want the role. Just do your job. Continue to create solutions. Yes. Continue to find answers to the problems around you. You know, and people will notice. It might take time, but people, those who are running the organization, those who run that entity, are going to notice one way or the other that whenever I give this guy a job, he does it.
Does extra.
Regardless of how simple or how difficult it is, he does it. And soon, that role that you want, that position that you want will come to you. So I think, maybe because I'm the firstborn, I don't know, I've always been, because, you know, Nigeria, I grew up in Nigeria, there's always one problem or the other, here or there. So I had to grow up solving problems. So I think before I was even out of my teenage age, I was already used to solving problems. If you come to me today and say, there is this problem, I realize the problem, but I already move on to solution.
What's the next
What's the next thing? What can we do? Then we can analyze the problems later so it doesn't happen again. But immediately, I move on to the solution.
Yeah. Go ahead, Toby.
Toby.
Yeah.
My name is Toby.
Ah, namesake.
And I feel like Toby's have won. When God was creating us, he just said, you be excellent.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yes, you mentioned exposure, right? So in your story, you said you wanted to become a farmer, but where you were posted in NYSC changed the game for you. Yeah. A lot of youth will probably think that exposure doesn't really matter, because if you weren't posted there, you would have still been a farmer. You may have been, in fact, you would have been successful.
I think I would have been successful.
Right?
Yeah.
But it changed your mindset. It changed a lot of things about how you even viewed life. Yeah. Right? So can you speak to the youths who think that it's okay to just remain at that space where you are without being optimistic about life? Because at the end of the day, it is what you see that you would get out of life, or what you really want that you get out of life.
Okay. I don't like to, you know, because life can be complicated, can be complex, can be tough. So, and when you're trying to give advice, sometimes there are different scenarios. Everybody's going through different phases. So sometimes your advice may not directly apply. But I think there are some basic rules, you know. So one of it is this. Time waits for nobody. So I always say something in Pidgin: do it when your mates are doing it. Like when your mates are doing it, when your mates are getting serious, when your mates are digging deep, do it.
Yeah.
You know, after NYSC, when everybody is trying to get their job, when everybody is trying to build something out of themselves, don't spend your time gallivanting around the world. You know, build, because you're going to come back when you are 28, 29, and exactly, and you won't be able to do the things, the nonsense, quote unquote, that they took when they were 22 and it was normal. You will, that's life. You still have to pass through that phase, and you start to feel, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do that.
Let's talk about how you started your business, because the truth is that you're 35 years old.
Yeah.
You're running an automobile company.
Yeah.
Is it like your father gave you the money? Did you go to the bank? How did you just go somewhere? They just dash you cards, say go and sell for? What exactly, how do you start an automobile as a Nigerian 35-year-old?
Okay, so, you know, like we all know, life is like in stages and it's compounding. So one year you do this, the next year you build on it, and that's it. So I'll give you, because of time, I'll be very, very brief. So I schooled all my life in Nigeria. I've always wanted to be successful. I've always wanted to add value. So I said, when I was going to be a farmer, I always told people, even my girlfriend, I was like, you know what? I'm going to feed 1 million people. I'm going to make sure I will be so big, I will fight inflation. You know, I always had those big dreams, even when I was a teenager. So when I got to Mercedes-Benz, I served there, I was retained. I became the head of the van division when I was 24. Yeah. I was very young. The van division wasn't really strong. But when I was there, we moved the market share from less than 1% to 7%. Wow. We sold 10 times more vehicles than we've been selling before when I was the head of division. So that brought a bit of success. Nigeria won the best sales or best country when I was the head of that division. You see, so a lot of, so after that, exactly, then I saw the opportunity to start to co-found a dealership of Mercedes-Benz with some people.
Okay.
You won't, those people wouldn't have invested, or the opportunity that I'm exactly.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories, but I'm trying to summarize it for you.
So you know, you're diligent, your work.
Exactly.
They saw that and then
I was 26 when somebody gave us, the person invested 1 billion naira in 2015. Wow. This was when dollar was maybe 160 or so. That's about $5 million US. Wow. So this young guy was 26 years old because they've seen something.
I just stand like this. If you don't hold $5 million, I just stand like this. $5 million.
That was a long time ago, even, you know. So
you can imagine how much is touching
your heart right now.
So somebody is asking if you are married, though.
I'm married. I actually forgot my ring at home.
Oh,
I'm married.
So he's married.
Hey, of all the competition here, now marriage matter.
Yeah. I was...
Like you need to wear.
You need to wear the ring. Wear double.
All right.
You know, So after that, at 26 years old, I started Jetvan with some amazing investors, and we were doing very well. We were, you know, selling our vehicles. We had the exclusive rights for Mercedes-Benz Sprinters in Nigeria. You know, I'm responsible, without sounding, to sound humble,
modest, yes.
Yeah, with some modesty. I'm responsible for the popularity of the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter in this market, in the Nigerian market. Yeah.
Nice.
So after that, we were doing very well. Everything was going well until the naira lost some value. People couldn't buy the Mercedes-Benz as much as they could anymore. So that was one of the reasons I said, you know what? Why are we always trying to buy Oyibo things? Why can't we control our own factors of production? Why don't, you know, we already have some advantage, which we don't even realize. Land is relatively cheap in Nigeria. Labor is relatively cheap. We also have very smart people, you know? So we can, these are two major factors of production, which are, so you can bring that in and have a competitive advantage. Bring it in and your price is good. And that's one of the things that I thought about. And it was tough, story for another day. Then I started a Nord. So to ask your question, how did I get the money? So being head of the van division, then I got investors for Jet Van, made some money there, then I left. Because at that time, the investors didn't want to come with me. They were wondering, okay, can we do this? Can we not do this? So I left. I had 100% of the company. I had some money. I started with that money. Then, of course, the money dried up.
Your personal funds.
My personal funds.
Bam. I like that.
So the money dried up within a couple of months, you know. Then I went to a bank. If I let me mention, I went to Sterling Bank. You know, Sterling Bank decided to, okay, we like this guy. I was in Lagos. So everything has to, you know, it's not just...
You're not supposed to mention, bro, because they didn't pay us.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I just wanted people to understand
the process.
How the process... I was in Lagos Business School then, you know. So people saw my dream. Like I said, people knew that this guy was hardworking in the rest.
Let me ask something. So I see people who come and they say they want to start a business.
Yeah.
And I ask, okay, what do you have in your hands? And they say nothing. And I'm wondering, so if you cannot bring out what you have, you cannot invest in your own self, how do you expect me to invest in you? And I hear now that's why I highlighted the personal funds that you invested, because you believed in yourself and you were able to put everything you have. When you present your case to somebody, they will say, okay, for this person to put what they have, that means they believe in themselves and it's easy for them to support you. So, you know, I know you don't like giving advices, but anybody can pick on it and work with it. What do you tell people who are really interested in doing something and yet they don't trust themselves enough to put what they have?
So before the break, BC had asked an important question about how to bring in your own investment into a business.
So it's very important for people to know that investors, creditors, people who want to partner with you, want to see that you have a skin in the game. Nobody, or people will be very skeptical to invest in you if they feel that you are not as committed. Because why would people invest their scarce resources, money, time into you, sometimes reputation, if you are already thinking this business might not work? You know, the money I used in starting Nord, I remember a couple of my friends then telling me I could have used it to buy property or this or that.
Wow.
You know, and they were even calling me a fool at that time. Now, of course, they are still friends, we're still best friends. But at that time, they felt that I was being, you know, unnecessarily ambitious. You know, so you need to put your skin in the game. You need to be sure. I've heard of entrepreneurs who want to start a company but are still working somewhere and you're trying to raise money. And people are wondering, you're trying to raise money, but you're still an employee of this other company. So it doesn't inspire confidence to invest, So you need to put a skin in the game.
All right, go ahead, Toby.
Toby, I hate you especially.
Toby.
You know, I'm telling you. You know, entrepreneurship can be a tasking walk in the park, right? And you may feel like, do I really have what it takes? But we see that the government will say, people will say create an enabling environment. They want the government to create an enabling environment. So what are the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur in Nigeria? And how can the government help such situations, especially for other entrepreneurs that watch this interview today and are saying that we want to do this, but a lot of things are limiting us?
There are a lot of challenges in Nigeria, a lot. So I'm just going to pick one or two because of time. There are a lot of challenges doing business in Nigeria, and some of them are very unnecessary. They shouldn't be there in the first place. And we talk about trying to create jobs, but a lot of these challenges actually take out jobs, you know. So one of them is, I'll mention maybe like 2 or 3. One of them is, in my industry, for my sector, is inconsistent government policy.
Right.
I think that's number one for us. Inconsistent, like, it's not about the policy here. It's how inconsistent it is. Today you are saying this, next year you are saying this. So it demotivates investment. People, especially my sector, is very, very capital intensive. People have their break-even in 10, 15 years. You know, break-even, not, you know. So when you want to invest, you want to be sure that we will be able to do this thing. Because Nigeria is a big market. Nigeria is a very big market, you know.
Absolutely.
We'll be able to come here, do this, grow the economy of this country, help the people, create jobs, and over a period of time, be able to, you know, break even, then start making your money. But imagine after 4 years, 3 years, there's a policy change, you know. So, because right now, let me give you a good example. Right now, before some years ago, there was a policy that encouraged local assembly. So people think, why is it? So if you bring in vehicles, complete knockdown, you don't pay any duty. Then semi-knockdown, you pay 10%. Then for those who bring in fully built vehicles, you pay 35% for commercial vehicles and 70% for fully built passenger cars. But in 2020, for reasons I do not understand, for reasons that cannot be justified, it was slashed. Without consulting us, the stakeholders, you know. That's one of the problems of Nigeria I will mention. They claim the consultants of the stakeholders who were not the stakeholders, who just, you know, because they have other interests, they wanted to bring in Tokumbo vehicles. They said they were the stakeholders, and they went to government and they changed this policy. So right now, if you bring in fully built commercial vehicles, you pay only 10%. And if you bring in semi-knockdown, you pay 10%. So right now, you actually lose money assembling vehicles in Nigeria. So
it made it cheaper to bring.
Yeah, so it's cheaper right now to bring in a fully assembled vehicle than to
bring in the parts.
Bring in the parts and assemble. So right now, for every vehicle that I assemble, I lose about 500,000 naira per vehicle, 600,000 naira per vehicle.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so imagine when we do volume like 100, 200, so you can do the calculation. So you can ask why. The reason is we've trained our staff. If I have to stop the assembly, then I have to, all the investment we've made
will be lost.
Will be lost.
Training.
Be a waste. The trainings, the people we've employed will have to lose their job, you know, but also me, I lose the training. You know, so we're just hoping that the government at a point
will look into it.
Will look into and realize that the auto industry is a big market. In Germany, for example, they call it the mother of industries. Like, because a lot of other industries will thrive if you have a thriving automotive manufacturing industry.
Of time. Let me around three.
Yeah, so I just really wanted to know like more about this. You know, let's talk to government now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about practically how this will affect us. You know, you started it already. Practically how this investing in your industry, how it will help us. We are constantly talking about, you know, importing, especially when we have like new politicians coming into power. We're talking about what we're importing new cars, when we can be building. What are the things that you would like to see government do? One, policy. We need one policy that, you know, that is long-term. Yeah. Secondly, what would you like to see, especially when it comes to education in schools? What would you like to see Nigerian students study, you know, and...
Okay, so I'll start from education. Very important. But you know, like I said, in solving problems, you know, you cannot just say, okay, one thing. It's a combination of different factors over a period of time. There's no magic switch, boom, you know. So now, at the moment, we need to first of all, create a manufacturing sector that is thriving, that is paying well. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, then you can have the incentive to get people to go to technical schools, to get trained. Because right now, most of the technicians in the factories are not like the graduates of engineering of our universities. They are usually the guys the apprentice. They're usually the very skilled ones. So, but they don't have so you have a problem where you have the apprentice that's very technically skilled. Then you have the university engineering graduate who has to be supervisor, not very technically skilled. So there is no middle ground. And that's because the technical schools are not as efficient at the moment. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. There are one or two you see that are technically gifted, they're also well educated, you know, but in the market. So we need to focus on that, educate people more. But before you can get people more, you need to actually make your manufacturing sector very, very attractive. Like the way the oil and gas is, for example. You need people engineers, you know that I can be a mechanical engineer in Nigeria and I'll be very successful.
Yes.
So that's one of the things.
One of the things I want to use to touch on before you, because we have to wrap up very soon. Are the various, somebody's listening to you right now and they're thinking, automobile, Nigeria, it never really occurred to me. We only hear of Innocent. I mean, that's the only one we've heard about. But now we've seen your automobile. How can they get involved? What are the various levels of value chain? The design of what makes a Nigerian car a Nigerian car? Is it you designing it or you're still importing the design from abroad? What makes it uniquely Nigerian? What's that thing that makes a car Nigerian automobile? Okay, so you ask,
people, this question is very similar to what people ask. Okay, is it assembled in Nigeria or is it made in Nigeria? So now, I've always said this to people close to me. The only way you can make a car is to assemble it. Just the same way the only way you can make a cake is to bake it. The way you can make your jollof rice is to cook it. So the only way you can make a car is to assemble it. Now, when you say manufacturing, you can manufacture different components of the car. Then it goes to the assembly line and is assembled. So for us now, we make about 30% of our components. We make our grills ourselves, which you see. We make some of our door handles ourselves. We make some of our dashboard. Most of the plastic parts we make ourselves. But the metal parts, we cannot make ourselves because we do not have a steel manufacturing sector in Nigeria. So we have to bring in this steel. Once the steel sector is done, and trust me, if we do this steel, I estimate that we will drop the price of vehicles in Nigeria by as much as 30%. Wow. If we start making our own steel ourselves. Right now, we're already about 50% the price, like Nord, for example. Our price is about 50% or 60% the price of the competitor from across the world. The same quality, just a different country of manufacture and a different brand. So now, we're already about 60% the price. So if you now start to make steel in Nigeria, we will drop even by 30%. And people will have a lot of jobs. The Nigerian auto industry is big. The only problem is that 97% of our market is Tokumbo. It's used vehicles from outside Nigeria. Yeah. We bring in over ₦1 trillion of cars every year, between 1 trillion to 1.8, depending on the year.
Monies that
we can use. So imagine, and all this money is always changed into USD or into dollars. So imagine half of that remains in this country. Imagine the amount of, just imagine the amount of jobs, the wealth.
Already imagining it.
Yes, imagine us exporting our cars.
Our cars. And we can actually do it. We can actually do it because,
Get there.
okay, we can actually, because a lot of the big companies we see today is because, like you say, you can start from the low-hanging for the government. There's actually an executive order 5 that says that you have to buy made in Nigeria things.
Do they follow it?
People don't, you know what the problem is? Like, I told people, I'm very active on Twitter. I said it on Twitter a lot of times. That one of Nigeria's biggest problem, even bigger than policy, is impunity. We just don't like to obey laws. And there are almost no consequences for not obeying rules.
Laws are not sweet.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
You have a lot to say, I can tell.
So much. I mean, it's good. It's exciting to see you. And I always say proudly that TVC is one of the only stations in this, or company in this country that actually bought innocent vehicles, because we wanted to be proudly Nigerian. All the official cars were turned to many years ago, and was something that was a proud moment to know, listen, we're using Nigerian products. And I'm happy that you're also in the industry. Well done, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Company too, we buy your own.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, let's go on a break now. When we come back, move on to the final segment. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.